Learning goal number 23, lines and angle relationships. Woo! Learning goal number 23, lines and angle relationships. So, we got a good amount of vocabulary here. Not a whole lot of problems to go through, but a lot of vocabulary to tackle that we need to commit to memory. First thing here, parallel lines, they're lines that never intersect. So if I draw two lines here that never intersect, they're never going to cross as they go on forever and ever in both directions. They will never cross or intersect. And oftentimes you'll see little arrows on those lines, preferably in a different color, to show that they are parallel. So these two symbols right here represent that they are in fact parallel lines. Perpendicular lines, these are lines that intersect at right angles. Okay, for example, those two lines are perpendicular, and the way you will know that they are perpendicular is that you will see one right angle there. Now, if there is one right angle right there, then this angle is right angle also because it's vertical and congruent, and then this angle is supplementary, so it's 90 also, and then this will be 90 also as it's supplementary. So all four of those are actually right angles, but they'll only show one of them being a right angle. You just assume that the other three are also right angles. Okay, a transversal. A transversal is a line that intersects two or more other lines. So let's just say, for example, we see transversals a lot when we're dealing with parallel lines. So let's just say I have two parallel lines here. And I intersect those two parallel lines with a transversal. Well, that transversal has just created 8 different angles. 4 up here and 4 down there. Let me number them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, it doesn't have to be parallel lines for a transversal to intersect it, just oftentimes we see that a lot. Okay, so now what happens when this transversal intersects these parallel lines is 8 angles are created. And they are considered to be interior angles, which are on the inside of the two lines. So when I refer to interior angles here, I'm talking about 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 that are inside of those two lines. So angle 3 and so angle 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all considered interior angles. Now, exterior angles are on the outside of these lines. So on the outside of those lines, 1, 2, 7, and 8 make up my exterior angles. Interior on the inside, exterior on the outside. Okay, now as we continue on talking about a transversal intersecting parallel lines. Transversal intersecting parallel lines, let's stick with that concept. So I got a transversal, it's intersecting these sets of lines. I'm just going to say that they're parallel. Alternate interior angles are angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So they're interior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So if I were numbering these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 again, if you notice, I've only labeled the interior angles, so I can identify what alternate interior angles are. They are angle pairs, 2 of them, that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. Here's your transversal, and on the interior. So we got angle 3 on this side and angle 6 on that side. That is a pair of alternate interior angles. And then we also have angle 4 and angle 5. Those are also alternate interior angles. So 3 and 6 are a pair, and 4 and 5. Now here's the thing. When I have 2 parallel lines cut by a transversal, they have to be parallel lines cut by a transversal, alternate interior angle pairs are congruent. So actually angle 3 here is the same measure as angle 6, and angle 4 is the same measure as angle 5. They are congruent, And this is the symbol we use for congruency. Okay, alternate interior angles. Again, interior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. When you have parallel lines cut by a transversal, alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, alternate exterior angles. It's sort of the same concept, but now we're talking about exterior angles. Okay, so we have two parallel lines, again, cut by a transversal. Now we're only talking about exterior angles, so I'll label those. 1 and 2, here would be 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, and 8. So alternate exterior angles are exterior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So exterior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. 1 and 8, and 2 and 7. Now, just like alternate interior angles, when two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, they have to be parallel lines for this to be true. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. So 1 and 8 have the same measure, they're congruent. And 2 and 7 have the same measure and are congruent. Okay? Again, alternate exterior angles on the exterior, opposite sides of the transversal. When two parallel lines, they have to be parallel, are cut by a transversal, alternate exterior angles are congruent. Okay, finally, the last type of special angles we're going to talk about today are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are angles that are in the same position. Okay, let me explain this. Here we have one line, here we have a second line. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this with a transversal. And again, let's just assume that these two lines are in fact parallel. All right. Now, corresponding angles are angles that are in the same position. What I mean by that, assume that I've numbered these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in order again. If you look at number 1, where angle 1 is, it's in the top left of this sort of like 4-angle picture. Well, down here where angle 5 would be is in the same position. It's in the top left. Those are corresponding angles. And then where angle 2 is, right here, it's in the same position, the top right, as where angle 6 would be right here. Those are another pair of corresponding angles. And then finally, angle 3 is in the same position as where angle 7 would be. And those are corresponding angles. And then finally, angle 4 is in the bottom right, where angle 8 would be in the bottom right. That is another pair of corresponding angles. So we have our pairs of corresponding angles. Top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, so on. They're in the same position. Now, corresponding angles, when you have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, corresponding angles are congruent. So angle 1 and angle 5 are congruent. Same thing with 2 and 6, 3 and 7, and 4 and 8. They are all congruent. Okay, a lot of vocabulary today, and instead of me giving you a bunch of problems to try, I'm just going to give you 2 problems to do in the workbook, and those are number 5 and 6 on page 93. You don't need to copy them down, but I'm going to show them to you here in a second, and you can refer to your workbook, page 93, numbers 5 and 6. Here they are.
Turn down for what?